Apple just made a decision that is going to cost a lot of people money. Not because the iPhone 18 Pro Max is bad, because of what they did to the lineup around it. Apple is reportedly splitting the iPhone 18 family. The Pro series launches this September, while the more affordable models are being pushed to spring 2027, which means if you walk into an Apple store this fall, your only options start at $999. No budget lane, no escape hatch. And there is one thing about this phone, like one detail that every breakdown I have seen is completely glossing over. It changes whether this upgrade makes sense for you. We will get there. Picture this. It is September 2026. You walk into an Apple store. You want a new iPhone. The iPhone 18 Pro lineup is a 6.3-inch Pro and a 6.9-inch Pro Max. And alongside them, Apple is reportedly launching its first ever foldable iPhone. 3 phones. All of them expensive, none of them cheap. And here's the thing nobody is saying out loud. That is not an accident. Apple is expected to shift the standard iPhone 18 launch to spring 2027, keeping the spotlight entirely on the Pro series during the traditional September window, which means anyone upgrading this fall gets funneled, whether they like it or not, toward a phone that starts at $999. So the question I kept coming back to is this: is the iPhone 18 Pro Max actually worth $1,199? Or is Apple just removing your alternatives? I went deep on every credible leak, every analyst report, every supply chain briefing worth reading, and I landed on a take that surprised even me, especially on one specific number, a number that every other breakdown I have seen is completely glossing over. We will get there. The iPhone 18 Pro and Pro Max are expected to launch in September 2026, featuring the debut of Apple's C2 modem and a shift to a 2-nanometer manufacturing process for the A20 Pro chip. That is the headline, but headlines do not tell you whether to spend $1,200. So let me tell you what actually matters. Let's start with the thing that powers everything else, the A20 Pro chip. The A20 Pro will be Apple's first chip built on TSMC's 2-nanometer process node, a manufacturing transition that involves far more than just shrinking a number. Rumors claim it could be up to 15% faster and 30% more efficient than the A19 generation. 15% faster, 30% more efficient. Now, I know what you are thinking. 15% does not sound like a reason to spend $1,200. But here is what that number actually means when you are holding the phone. The 2-nanometer process generates significantly less heat than the previous 3-nanometer bulbs, which means the phone does not throttle under sustained load. Translation: your phone will still be running at full speed after 45 minutes of video export, a long FaceTime call, or a heavy gaming session. No slowdown, no heat spike in your pocket. That does not show up in a benchmark, but you will feel it every single day. Now, there is another chip in this phone that almost nobody is talking about, and it might be the most underrated upgrade of the entire year. Apple's first fully in-house modem, the C2, is expected to debut in the iPhone 18 Pro models this fall. First party, Apple designed, and it is not just about dropping Qualcomm. This C2 modem brings millimeter wave 5G support, Wi-Fi 7, and Bluetooth 6 to a phone that is already running the most efficient chip Apple has ever built. More connectivity, less battery drain, because the modem and the chip are designed to work hand in hand. That is the compounding effect nobody is pricing into the conversation, which brings me to the number I have been building toward. The battery, 5,100 to 5,200 milliamp hours, the largest battery Apple has ever shipped inside an iPhone, period. Now, Here is why that number matters more than it looks on a spec sheet. Usually, when Apple upgrades the chip, the battery pays the price. More power, more heat, more drain. But the 2-nanometer A20 Pro is efficient enough that you get both simultaneously the biggest battery and the most efficient chip Apple has ever shipped in the same device, both at the same time. That is not the usual trade-off. That is not how this normally works. The iPhone 17 Pro Max already holds first place in battery life testing across 35 smartphones, and the A20 Pro is expected to extend that advantage even further. Not pretty good, not better than last year, genuinely outlast your day. That is the number nobody is giving the attention it deserves, and it is also the reason the upgrade makes the most sense for a very specific group of people. I will tell you exactly who in a minute. The camera, the iPhone 18 Pro and Pro Max's variable aperture lens will cost Apple 50% more than the camera unit used in current models. A first for any iPhone ever. From the iPhone 14 Pro through the iPhone 17 Pro, the main camera has used a fixed aperture, meaning the lens remains fully open at all times. A variable aperture lets the camera physically control how much light reaches the sensor, opening wider in low light, closing down in bright conditions. Your eyes do this automatically. Pupils expand at night, contract in daylight. The iPhone 18 Pro Max camera can now do the same thing on purpose, under your control. That is not a software filter. That is not computational photography pretending to be optics. That is physics. Some Chinese flagship phones now capture nearly twice as much light as Apple's newest models across all zoom ratios, and that is a hardware gap, not a software one. Variable aperture is Apple finally closing that gap, and it is paired with the full 48 plus 48 plus 48 megapixel triple rear system. The technology allows users to adjust how much light enters the lens while controlling background blur, offering shallow depth of field for subject isolation, medium settings for recognizable backgrounds, or deep focus where everything stays sharp. That is not a gimmick. That is professional camera control on a phone. The display, 6.9 inches, LTPO-OLED, 120 Hz promotion, and a peak brightness of 3200 nits. Hands-on video of the iPhone 18 Pro Max dummy units reveals a 25% smaller dynamic island and a thicker camera array with larger lenses, not full under-display Face ID. That generation is still coming, but cleaner, more screen, less interruption. The iPhone 18 Pro series will introduce 4 finishes: dark gray, dark cherry, light blue, and silver. Dark cherry, a deep wine red shade. I do not know who approved cosmic orange, but whoever approved dark cherry, genuinely well played. Now let's talk about price and Apple's strategy, because this is where it gets uncomfortable. The iPhone 17 Pro Max retained its $1,199 starting price, keeping it $100 under the rival Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra. Analysts expect the 18 Pro Max to hold that same price, flat, same price, more capable phone. That is legitimately good news. The variable aperture lens alone costs Apple 50% more to produce than the current camera unit, and Apple appears to be absorbing that cost rather than passing it to buyers, which is genuinely more than I expected from them. But here is the move that changes the entire context of this launch. Apple is expected to delay the standard iPhone 18 to spring 2027 and keeping all the September attention on the Pro series, which means if you want a new iPhone this fall, your options start at $999. That is not a product strategy, that is a funnel. For budget-conscious buyers waiting until spring 2027 for the standard iPhone 18 is genuinely the smarter financial decision. Okay, let's close every loop I opened. Who should actually upgrade to the iPhone 18 Pro Max? If you are on an iPhone 14 Pro or older, this is your upgrade, full stop. The iPhone 18 Pro lineup is expected to pack significant internal upgrades that could make this the most transformative iPhone in years. The A20 Pro chip, the C2 modem, the variable aperture camera, the 5200 milliamp battery, the smaller dynamic island. These are not incremental improvements over what you have. They are a different category of device entirely. Two generations of compounding upgrades landing at once. You will feel every single one of them every day if you are on an iPhone 16 Pro Max or newer. Wait, the performance delta does not justify $1,199. Not even close. You will spend $1,200 and spend the next 3 weeks convincing yourself you notice the difference. You won't. And no color, not even dark cherry, is worth that. If you are on a 15 Pro Max, it is a close call. The battery jump and the variable aperture camera might actually move the needle for heavy users. But if your phone is still serving you, hold one more year. One last thing. Alongside the iPhone 18 Pro and Pro Max, Apple is said to be planning to launch an ultra-premium folding iPhone at the same September event, which means this September event is going to be completely dominated by fold coverage. Every channel, every review, every headline, and the iPhone 18 Pro Max with the best battery, the first variable aperture lens in iPhone history, the first fully in-house modem, and the most efficient chip Apple has ever built, is going to be the most slept-on flagship of 2026. Which, historically, is exactly when something is worth paying attention to. I am curious, are you upgrading this fall or waiting for the standard 18 in spring? Drop it below. I am actually reading them.